Hello, my creative and crafty friends. This is Gloria Plunkett with designsbygloria.com, here to share with you this fun overlapping card that I found on, I think it was Pinterest or Facebook, can't remember, but I loved it. So I wanted to share with you how this comes together. Is that not the cutest thing? It's just a regular card with just a little bit of a twist there. Hopefully you can see that. I've made a couple for my team. Well, this one's not for one of my team members, but I made some with the little strawberries. Love it. Made this one for a friend who I hope, I'm out of camera, a friend who I hope feels better. And then these are from my downline for doing a great job for their accomplishments for the previous month. So I got several of those I've got to get in the mail tomorrow. But I want to show you how to make that. And all we need is an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock that's scored at 4 1/4. We need a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of designer series paper of your choice. In this particular case, I'm using the, let me grab it here because I can't remember off the top of my head. The Europeach designer series paper. I keep it in these little folders so I get all my scraps in there and I can see what I've got used and what I have left. And anyway, I've got several of these packs and I absolutely love this paper. I mean, there's nothing not to love. On one side is these prints. On the other side is just kind of these other images. Just love it. Anyway, so that's the designer series paper. And I'm also using the peach dies, which are here, and the Sweet as a Peach stamp set. Absolutely love this. The color palette I'm using today is Pale Papaya, Calypso Coral, and Granny Apple Green, and then Early Espresso. I love that. I love that combination. So let's go ahead and get started on creating this fun fold card. I don't know what it's called. I've just seen it, so I'm calling it an overlapping card. Actually, a friend of mine, Mary Cook, called it that, so I thought that was pretty good. That's what we're going to use. So I'm going to take my thick Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to need a ruler. I'm going to open this up and a little pencil. I'm going to take this and align a ruler here and mark 2 3/4 on that ruler. That's the center point for this project. And I'm going to bring in my trimmer and I'm going to align this corner here of the cardstock to this point here that I have marked with my pencil. I'm going to place that edge right here. I'm going to place that pencil mark right here, aligning those as best I can, then using my cutter and cutting that off. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. That goes up here, the point goes down here, align them as best you can, and cut. And that gives me the building blocks for my card. Now while I've got my trimmer up, I'm going to take this piece of designer series paper, mark it at 2 and what did I come up with? 4 1/4, 2 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark it right there. And I'm going to do the same thing to this paper as what I did to the card base. So I'm going to bring it in here, line this point up here, find my pencil mark here, and then slice it. So I'm going to do that. Make sure I'm still straight. Cut. Then I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. Just mark it. By the way, I'll have a PDF on my blog today where all you've got to do is download the PDF and have all the measurements for you. Okay, so now we've got our cardstock. Use my bone folder because I like a nice crisp edge. Then I'm going to take this piece that we just cut and I'm going to align it right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over so I have a little contrast there. And I'm going to use my bone folder to smooth out those edges, because you know sometimes when you cut it you get that little valley. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use my liquid glue, which I have poured in this fine tip bottle, and I absolutely love it because I can get precise glue where I want it. All right, then I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to center it here as best I can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Then these two pieces here, there are the other edges of the front of the card. I'm going to add the other side of the design, the flowered side of the designer series paper to my little corner pieces. Whoops. There's my, I have a wet towel here somewhere. And just align those on there as best I can. I'm sorry if you hear my furry children running around. They don't usually do that. They wait until I'm on a video to act a fool. Apologize for that. So if you hear them, just ignore them. And then I'm going to do this right here. Okay. And then align it here the best I can. Okay, now we're going to add this to the front. And I like to place this one down first and then this overlap this one on top. So I'm going to make sure the tip of this piece here is at the top of my card base. And I'm going to make sure the bottom is lined up down here. So make sure that's up there, that's down here. Then I'm going to look to see here. I only want to add glue from this point up. So I'm going to hold my finger there because I know that's where the line is. Then I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to bring it back, make sure this is aligned down here and that's aligned up there. And press to get that glue to adhere. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this piece over here on this side. So let me see where my glue line will go to, right there. Super simple, but I love the look. Something different and unique. I hadn't seen anything like this before, so maybe you have. I'm just maybe late to the game. So I'm going to press to make sure that sticks. And now all that's left is to embellish my card. On this project here, the first one I showed, I used the tiny little peaches. This time I think I'm going to use the larger peaches. I love this set, don't you? What I did was I stamped first. I inked up the stamp in Pale Papaya. Then I took my sponge dauber and inked up Calypso Coral. And while I had the stamp set, I stamped it in Pale Papaya. Then I went around the edges just to give it a little bit of 3D imaging there. And then I huffed and I stamped. Then I used the coordinating dies to add them. I mean to cut them, not to add them. So now I'm going to put this little branch here and try to figure out how I can get these to look like they're hanging. Let me just put this on first. I'm just going to use the tip of my glue here. That's why I love this little bottle. You can also use an empty fine tip glue bottle and pour your glue in there. Maybe use that. Okay, now that I've got that, I think I want one hanging off this branch and maybe one hanging off here. Okay, so this one I'm going to just go ahead and glue. I stamped the leaves in Granny Apple Green and the little tiny stem there in Early Espresso. So it could coordinate there. And then this, I think I'm going to pop up on dimensionals. Give it a little lift. I don't like to skimp on my dimensionals because I don't like my projects going flat. So one little extra dimensional than you would probably normally use is worth it in my book. So I'm going to put that one right there.